LeAnn Foster here for Inform Magazine. I am here at Zion Baptist Church in Marietta, and I am here with Gregory Thomas. And Gregory Thomas told me about these papers that I'm holding in my hand. One, a literacy test that they administered to make the people of color prove that they were eligible to vote. But you know what? No one can explain this better than you. Tell me about this and how it originated.
Okay. Before we consider in 1870 when the emancipation took place, then mass population of freed blacks were able to vote. And that's how a lot of blacks came into politics, particularly in, say, South Carolina. Because South Carolina had a population of 60% slavery. So once they were able to vote, then it was easy for them to get them into office. Once the Compromise of 1877 happened, different projects happened to eliminate who could and who could not vote. That's when they came up with what you'll call a voting poll, which right here you see is a copy receipt of an individual that had to pay a poll just to vote. Now imagine, if you would, if your monthly salary was $15 per month, and you had to pay $1.50 to vote. Now, once you pay the poll tax to vote, then there would be an administration of a literacy test. The test was established to prove who has an education of a 5th grade level. When you consider in the early 1900s or late 19th century, the average education for a person was 6th grade. So imagine today you had a literacy test, but the test was based on a bachelor's degree. Same philosophy here. But with the test is actually written and designed to fail the individual. Because the person that's administered the test had to write to say if the question is correctly answered or not. Now, with that in mind, you were given 10 minutes to take the test and pass, and you had to pass with 100%. So missing one question will automatically disqualify you as a voter, but that's after you have paid your poll tax. So it was an easy way to collect a taxation. And so you think about that. Here you have to prove that you have a 5th grade education. You have paid, well, first you must pay a toll. You have a monthly income of $15. Even if you do vote, who's going to value you as an individual? So with that in mind, who's going to vote? Who would take that risk? What some of the individuals did was everyone would win and they would try to remember a question. And they would go back and explain the question that they looked at. So it was a matter of a team player making a sacrifice for the team, just so you can get some of the individuals to vote. But other than that, this is how society went. As a matter of fact, poll taxes went all the way up to the 1960s. It even went up to about $2.50. But once President Lyndon Johnson signed the Voters' Rights Act, it eliminated all of these barriers for individuals to vote. One thing to explain here is that the picture right here, it has a picture of some of the states, particularly those in the high yellow, that had poll taxes, literacy tests, and grandfathers. With the grandfather policy, if your grandfather prior to 1865 voted because he owned property, whether that property was land or people, he was entitled to vote. So if your grandfather owned property, you were allowed to vote by default.
And some of those cities are Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia, highlighted in yellow.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. And if you think about it, those are also the states that were morally highly populated with slaves.
So tell us today, with knowing this, how important is it for people to get out and vote?
Imagine the sacrifices. The individuals that had to go through this, they had no chance. Their chances existed within their great-grandkids as far as voting. You're talking from 1877 to 1965. That was the wait period. Now, when we think of that, consider the 19th Amendment. With that amendment, it allowed voting by gender, so to speak. It gave women a right to vote. However, those right for women to vote was determined by race. So when my great-grandmother was thinking it was for her also, it wasn't the case. It was just for Pacific women of one particular race to have the right to vote. That is what the 19th Amendment granted.
Wow. That is powerful. Property being defined as land and people. If nothing else, that's more than a reason to go out and vote. Inform readers, Inform magazine readers, from LeAnn to you, we encourage you to vote.